in a situation as a woman in leadership where you just did not know exactly how to manage a situation. Perhaps you didn't know exactly what to say or what not to say in a board meeting, an interview, or a salary negotiation. Well, today is your very lucky day because this is an opportunity for you to really ask me any questions as it relates to communication and leadership. And if you are new to me, I am here to really help elevate your skills as a woman in leadership. Now, if you have been in a leadership role for any point in time in your career, you know there's times where you have situations that come up and you are just not sure of how to answer it or how to handle it. Well, today you have the opportunity to learn from my over 20 years of expertise as a director, as a C suite executive, as a public speaker, and an executive coach that will help you to fast track yourself as relates to your leadership skills and make you stand out from everybody else by how you communicate because people become great by how they communicate. So my mission here on this earth is to help you be able to unlock the greatness within yourself by how you're communicating. So ask me any questions that you have. I have a couple questions that I have been asked this week specifically by individuals or clients of mine. And I want to make sure that I go over a few of those with you and answer any questions that you may have. Now, many of you know my target audience in terms of who I work with specifically in a one on one setting are women in leadership. That is my target audience. However, here on YouTube, I have women in leadership that are subscribed to my channel. I have men in leadership that are subscribed to my channel. And I welcome everybody here because I appreciate you being a part of my journey and interacting with my channel. Regardless of what I'm sharing with you right now, whether you're a woman in leadership or a man in leadership, it will help you as you are trying to elevate yourself as a communicator and as a leader. So apply what you can to go to that next level in your career. This will help you not only to make a bigger impact in the world, but also be able to generate additional income and then just do the things that you're looking forward to accomplish in your life. If you're watching this portion of the video, you are more than likely watching the replay. So I welcome you. I'm glad you're here. Typically on YouTube, there's a point in time where people will start to join. And I want to say hello to those individuals who are present, who join us today, and be able to engage with them. And then I'll go into some of the questions that I was asked this week, and then get any questions that you have. If you're watching the replay and you're missing us live, that's okay. I do watch my comments. I do read my comments. So if you have something, and you have a question that you want to ask that you were not able to attend live, then put it in the comments below. Ask me. I'll be able to help you on your journey. All right, David Candido, welcome, welcome, friend. How you doing today? We got Jedi Lego Obi-Wan Kenobi. Well, hello, sir. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining. If you have questions, burning questions, those questions that you don't want to ask anybody, right? You don't want to ask anybody about leadership and about communication and really going to that next level in your career as a leader, then you, my friends, have found the best live stream to be on this evening on YouTube because I'm going to share with you over 20 years, yes, of expertise for myself as a director, a C suite executive, a public speaker, an executive coach that will fast track you and make you stand out from all of the other leaders in the room. So if this sounds interesting to you, then you should stay around for this live and subscribe to the channel if you're interested. All right. So for those of you who are on the live now, let me know where you're joining from this big, beautiful world today. David Candido says hi. Hello, David. Welcome, welcome, friend. So while I'm waiting for people to ask questions, and as I mentioned in just a moment ago, this is the time for you to ask those burning questions about how you navigate yourself as a leader, how you communicate as a leader, those professional questions that you've just wanted to have the answers to, but you just didn't want to talk or ask somebody about it. Feel free to ask me. I will give you some guidance to help you go to that next level in your career. Now, while I'm waiting for some responses to come in or some questions, give me some questions. Give me some questions where I can help you with today. I do want to go over a couple questions I've had so far. So I'm going to go over those really quickly and give a response to those. As I mentioned, these are coming up from a couple of former clients and then some individuals that are not clients of mine but did have general questions. So one of the questions that came up this week for me specifically was office politics. Office politics is something that came up in terms of specifically how can I navigate office politics when I'm trying to look for another job. And in my very humble opinion, office politics, people tend to shy away from it. But if you know how to communicate and really be able to put yourself at a higher level than your peers, meaning you're communicating at a higher level, office politics will mean nothing to you because you'll be the person that is able to master it, able to navigate it, and be that person that is actually a step ahead of everybody else. So, my response to the individual that asked me about how do you manage office politics, what should I do to manage office politics when I'm looking for another opportunity, is a couple of things. First, when you're looking for job opportunities in your role, this is something that you should keep very, very close, as we say, to your chest. Like it should be very close and near and dear to you. I have seen people make mistakes countless times, and I've seen this as a C-suite executive. I've seen this as a director. I've seen this as a manager. I've managed over hundreds of employees at this point. And I see this happen a lot. When people are not happy or they're trying to look for another job, the first thing they feel like they need to do is they need to go tell their friend. They need to go tell their friend, their coworker, hey, I'm looking for another job. Or Susie, I'm looking for another job. Mark, I'm looking for another job. And they feel like they have to go tell somebody this information. And you really, really don't need to do this. When you're looking for another job, you need to keep that to yourself, period. Look for another job on your own. So this is something that is very, very important. If you're trying to deal with office politics and you're trying to leave a job, just understand that there comes a point in your career where you know that you're leaving. And so make sure that you are being the better person, but look for opportunities, but just keep it close to yourself. You don't need to tell anybody you're looking around for jobs or you're looking for employment opportunities. You don't need to do that. Make sure you keep that to yourself. Now, while you're navigating office politics in that interim time period, I tell my clients in a one-on-one setting, and as I mentioned, in a one-on-one setting, I work with women in leadership, but on my audience, I have women in leadership, I have men in leadership. So I'm here to support all of you here on YouTube. But during that interim time period where you're looking for jobs, you're dealing with office politics, maybe somebody's being unfriendly to you, maybe they're talking behind your back. Maybe someone's trying to undermine you. There's a lot of things that happen with office politics that we could talk more about. If you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments below in terms of how to navigate it. But I encourage my clients to start becoming a bit more distant. What do I mean by that? You do not need to interact or engage with people unnecessarily if you can help it. What I recommend for you to do is to not interact with people as much as you normally would. Be at that place where you're very focused on your job, you're focused on your role. Take care of your task and go home. You don't need to be in that situation where you're asking a lot of questions and you're trying to just get involved in the office chatter and etc. that's happening. You do not want to do that when you're trying to leave a job and you're trying to navigate office politics. If you are putting yourself in a situation where you are in the environment where people like to chat and like to be maybe a bit inappropriate, you are dragging yourself back into office politics and then you become frustrated all over again. I'll give you an example of that, but something came in the chat, so I want to take a look at it really quickly. We have Quantum. Welcome, welcome, friend. How you doing today? So Quantum asked me, can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street? So Quantum, I cannot tell you how to get to Sesame Street, unfortunately, friend. I will tell you that Sesame Street was filmed in, from what I remember, this is many years ago, it's based out of New York City, I believe. And no, I can't tell you how to get to Sesame Street. This channel is a bit more focused on professional and leadership development. This is what I focus in a bit more on. These are topics that are a bit more serious. Not necessarily that Sesame Street is great, for kids, but this is not a kids channel. This is a channel for leaders who are trying to elevate themselves and go to that next level in their careers. So I can't help you there, for unfortunately, but I'm glad that you stopped by. If you have any questions as it relates to how to really navigate some challenges as a leader, or maybe some challenges as you're trying to communicate at a higher level and you want to stand out from everybody else, then let me know in the comments below. I'll be able to provide you with some insight that will help you on your journey. So we talked about office politics. That's one question that I received today was office politics. How do you navigate when you're leaving a job? Take home message from this, friends, is to keep your job search quiet. Keep it to yourself. Don't tell anybody else. Please don't do that until you actually found a job and you're actually given notice. That's when you need to tell people. Until then, you keep it to yourself. And then the second part of that is to start to distance yourself from other people in office politics, etc. Let me give you an example. What I was saying a moment ago before I took a look at the chat. So let me tell you a story. I knew of a situation with a group of coworkers who were all very professional. Everyone was very professional in terms of their titles, not necessarily in terms of how they communicated or what they talked about. And what happened is that the during the lunch hour, okay, during the lunch hour and the water breaks and the coffee breaks, that's when the starts happening. And that's where you start getting into office politics and people start dealing and saying things that may not be appropriate to you. So what happened to this particular person, and I don't want to go into the full details because some of it's not appropriate for me to say out loud, but this individual specifically was in a room consistently with some of her coworkers during the lunch break. And during that lunch break time, they would talk about some aspects of their personal lives that was not appropriate to talk about in a workplace setting. Now, most of the time when people are in these type of settings and they listen to people talk about office gossip or personal gossip, they just ha 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 ha, laugh about it and just shrug and just brush it off. Well, this particular time, something was said personally that someone does outside of work. And it ended up being in a very inappropriate way to where it made someone feel uncomfortable. Now, the individual I'm referring to you is someone that I know and that communicated with me directly because they did not know how to manage the situation that I'm about to share with you that happened. And for those of you who don't know, most of the time when people reach out to me, it's usually a crisis. There's usually a serious problem. There's a serious issue that people need support with. I deal with the hard things. I deal with the hard things, the real scenarios that happen. That's my gift. That's why I enjoy doing to be able to get some clarity. So what happened in this situation with this person? This is what happened. One individual A, did not feel comfortable with what was said in the break room at work. Okay, this is still at work. And this is a conversation that a bunch of people were having. Individual A felt so uncomfortable that she went to her human resources team and told them about what was being said at work. And the human resources team decided to have a conversation with everybody that was in the room at that time when this conversation was said. And the person that I'm referring to, that is someone that I know directly that needed some support in terms of what to do, told me that I have been contacted by human resources because something was said. It wasn't appropriate. I was in the room. I did hear it. I didn't say anything about it. And now I don't know what to do. What happened? We had a conversation. I told this individual, I said, this is something that you're going to have to just be honest about. You heard what was said, you know it wasn't appropriate. You probably could have done something differently, but this is something to keep in mind as you're trying to move forward in your career, that you have to be very, and not very, did I say very? Yes, you have to be very, very careful of who you are interacting with. There's this saying that goes around, guilt by association. That is what happened to the person that I am referring to, that I knew directly. Everyone in that room had some type of conversation had to them about what was said. And it was a very, very stern conversation, meaning that if something like this happens again, you all will be fired. And I share this with you because When you're navigating office politics and you're trying to figure out, how do I manage this situation? What should I do with office politics? How should I manage it? You have to be very observant. And I know this is going a bit more into the question than what the person asked for, but I hope I'm providing this individual with a lot of value, because I know specifically that she's really struggling with this situation. What you have to remember is that you can put yourself in good situations and you can put yourself in very bad situations. If you pick up that there's some individuals that are not being nice, maybe perhaps they're doing some very unkind things, or maybe saying some very inappropriate topics and words and statements, etc., you need to distance yourself from those people, even if it's in the break room. Okay, the break room is the gossip place. That's what I call it. Even if it's in the break room, you need to find another place to eat your lunch. Go eat your lunch in your car. Go eat your lunch outside. Go eat your lunch somewhere else, please, because this is how people get dragged into office politics. And then when situations happen, when things start to become a bit more contentious, they wonder, how in the world did I get here? I'm sharing with you, leaders, this is how you manage office politics. You have to be very, very careful in terms of the conversations in the rooms that you're around. If you're in a room and you hear something inappropriate, you have to leave. I'll tell you personally, for me as a leader in different roles, I have been in conversations or been a part of conversations that I felt that were inappropriate. And what I do in those situations, as soon, and I mean this, as soon as I hear something that sounds a bit too far to a direction that I don't think this conversation should be going in a professional setting because we're at work, I excuse myself. I literally will excuse myself and leave. Excuse me. I will either go to the restroom, I'll go take my phone out, I'll go check my phone, I'll go check some messages, I'll make a phone call. I leave the room. I leave the room because it is, I have seen it happen too many times where people will be caught in very bad situations just by being in the room with other people that are talking about things that are inappropriate. So I hope that answers the question for this individual as it relates to office politics. This is something that people deal with often, and this is a big challenge in leadership. Now, there's different depths of office politics, right? So we're talking more about your peer-to-peer office politics. But then what do you do when you have a situation where it's peer to super, where you to supervisor, or you to your manager and your boss? That's a whole different type of way you manage it. That wasn't asked specifically, but if you want me to talk a bit more about that and go deep into office politics, oh, I can go there. I can absolutely go there. I've been in some situations where I've been in very friendly conversations. I've been in very contentious conversations, specifically around office politics. So if you want me to go there, I'll go there, friends. You just let me know in the comments below if you want to learn more about office politics, how to manage them, especially if you're navigating with perhaps, let's say, your boss, maybe your board members, maybe your some business partners or associates or etc. Just let me know in the comments below. I'll be able to provide you with some insight and help you on your journey. Now, the other question that I was asked specifically was a very good question, and I want to share it from my perspective as being a woman in leadership. And this is something that you may wonder where this is coming from, but I know the backstory, and I know this question has been asked often. The individual asked me a question this week, and I don't want to go into a lot of details, but the question is centered around being a woman and applying for roles that have been predominantly occupied by men. And the question specifically was, I have been on interviews, and most of my interviews have been with other individuals. I know that I'm stepping into an industry that has not necessarily been occupied by men, occupied by women, excuse me. And I'm just trying to figure, the person was just trying to figure out, well, how should I present myself in this situation? What should I do? And what I would encourage this person to do, and we talked about this briefly, and I told them I would do a video for them about this specifically to go into a lot more detail because I didn't have much time at the moment. But you have to consider a couple of things. The first aspect is, if you're a woman in leadership and you're applying for roles that are in some of your more male dominated industries, and that's, not necessarily, there's nothing against these industries at all. They've just been occupied by men. I mean, that's just the way that things have been for many, many years until here within the past, I would say, 40 years or so, things have started to transition and shift a bit. And you have to remember that you are a person at the end of the day. You have a skill set, regardless of if you are a woman or a man, that is very unique to the role that you're applying for. Don't necessarily think that just because you're a woman that means that you can't apply for these roles. That's the first thing that I want to share with you. Just because you're a woman, that doesn't mean you need to apply for these roles. If you have been in these roles and you've only seen men in these roles, it doesn't mean that you can't apply for it. You can still apply for these positions. But keep in mind, you are a person. We are humans at the end of the day. Regardless if you're a man or a woman, if you are able to complete a task, you are able to complete a task. And that is very, very, very important. Sometimes I notice with some of the clients I work with, there is there's a thought that because they are women, they can't do this. And I encourage you not to try your best not to think that way. If you are struggling a bit with that mindset in terms of your roles and what you're trying to do, then this is a great opportunity to contact me for a strategy session. I'd be happy to support you and let's have a conversation about where you are and where you want to be. But I do want to also mention to you that you can apply for these roles and be very successful. You just have to be that best version of yourself and present yourself as an executive, as a person that's going to get the job done, regardless of gender. Okay, this is something that's really important. And I want the women in leadership that follow me to understand that you have to still be you, be your authentic self. You do not need to be anybody else. Do not need to act any differently. You need to be yourself. Now, there's a way you need to present yourself in a very polished executive way that you need to do. And if you want some help with that, then you absolutely want to subscribe to my channel because this is what I talk about on my channel all the time. But you do want to try to work on how you're presenting yourself. But in terms of who you are as a person, the values that are important to you, what means a lot to you, you want to still present yourself that way, regardless of who you are or what role you're applying for. So I hope that information helps the individual to know that just because you're applying for roles that's been predominantly occupied by men, that doesn't mean you shouldn't apply, and that doesn't mean you need to change who you are to fit into these roles. You need to be yourself, be your own person, and showcase how you will be able to take care of the tasks, the responsibilities that they're asking for in these specific roles. So I do want to mention a couple of things. If you like this video and you like this content, feel free to provide it with a thumbs up. It really truly does allow the algorithm to get this video out to other individuals. My mission here is really to help as many leaders as I can really communicate at that higher level than their peers. That is my expertise. That is what I do. I do share a bit more of the real life situations as it relates to executive leadership and really presenting yourself at that higher level than your peers. There's a lot of information out here on YouTube, friends, that talks about different things as it relates to executive presence. There's books and etc. I am working on my own book as it relates to executive presence that hopefully I'll be releasing probably in 2026. But I do want to say that one of the challenges that I see, and this is something that you can expect to not see on my channel, is there's this very academic approach as it relates to executive presence. Now, everybody doesn't do it in this way, but there's a lot of information out there that just is very academic. They're talking about this leadership model does this. This leadership model looks like a circle, or looks like a square, looks like a little square box, or whatever it looks like. And I'm finding that people are just wondering about executive presence. Well, what does it mean? How do I develop it? Well, I can see why people are concerned and why they're confused, because everything that's out there is very confusing. If you have to go to a leadership model and you have to look at percentages of what you need to have this percent and that percent, I can see how it can get kind of confusing. So here on my channel, I don't really go into that. And so if that's kind of your forte, where you want to have the more academic type of experience, you can. I'm not going to talk about that on my channel. I'm a doctor, so I've been past the academic phase, and I've learned that it takes being a real person and being in real situations and dealing with real stuff, real challenges, to truly be able to share with other people what happens in those very hot moments, those very challenging moments when you simply don't know what to do. Oftentimes when you're talking about it or you hear it from an academic level, well, there's this model and there's this hypotheses, and there's these KPIs, and there's this and that. People really completely just zone out of that, and I've seen it a lot, and I want to mention that because some of you may be new to me, may have never watched this video from me in your life. And so I want you to know that my channel really heavily focuses in on the real the real life, like what really happens in reality, that can make things very easy and make things very difficult for you as a leader. I focus on executive communication, executive presence, handling your emotions under pressure, communicating under pressure, thinking on your feet, public speaking, all of those very hard topics that people just sometimes don't want to talk about because they're hard. I talk about the hard things, especially as it relates to leadership. I've been in those hard situations and very comfortable with them. And if you're wanting to really elevate and truly, and I mean this in all sincerity, if you really are serious about trying to go to that next level in your career, and you know that there's something that is not where it needs to be in your career right now, and you know that you have this potential or you have this next big dream. Maybe you are in a C-suite role like I was, and perhaps you are looking at what's next, what happens to life out, what happens with life outside the C-suite. Or maybe you're just starting out in your leadership journey, you know you're trying to do more. Then feel free to just join us here on YouTube. We have a really fantastic audience here. I appreciate all of my audience that comes to the lives and says a few words or provides some insight and etc. Really appreciate everybody. And we talk about really fun things here. We've talked about millionaires in terms of how to become one. We've talked about multiple streams of income. We've talked about Bitcoin. We've talked about cars. We've talked about dropping off kids. We've talked about confidential conversations. We've talked about a lot of stuff. Lives are fun. Lives are an opportunity for us to go into different directions depending on where the conversation goes, and who has something they want to share. So I encourage you to subscribe to the channel if you are really serious about going to that next level and you know you need to communicate at a higher level than your peers. This is not the you just want to just start out and just start your journey type of channel. This is a channel where I talk about serious things here, serious growth. So, for instance, the mention earlier about Sesame Street. Sesame Street is for kids, and we are adults. And Sesame Street is definitely not something that I talk about. This is more serious situations. I've been in those serious situations where I've had to make some very difficult decisions. I've interacted with congressional leaders. I've been on the news, and so I take communication seriously. I take it so seriously that I want to make sure you all take it seriously, because I have seen how your ability to communicate will change your life. It will help you negotiate a higher salary. It will help you to be promoted into a different role. It'll help you to articulate your value. It will help you to become confident. It will help you to stand out from everybody else. It will help you to build that self-reliance and independence that many people need and they just don't have because maybe they haven't been reinforced that they need to just think a bit more positively about themselves. So just keep that in mind. I just wanted to share that if you have never been on my channel before, I appreciate you being here. But that's really what my channel is about. There's a lot of great videos here on my channel that you can take a look at. My lives are where the action is right now. So spend a lot of time on my live videos. There's a lot of great information here about eye contact, thinking on your feet. Just there's a lot. Just spend some time watching the lives, get some good information there. And I go live Tuesday through Friday. And I've been doing a few different live times in the morning. So let me know what you all think about that. If you think it's good or you think I should not do it. I'm debating on if I want to keep doing those or not. We'll see. But if you have any questions specifically, just let me know. Anything that's related to really professional development, communicating, challenging situations, those situations as a leader or as a business owner that you just know you're like, I want to ask that, but I don't know how to ask that. just ask me. I'll be able to provide you with some insight that will help you on your journey. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all next week. I hope you have an absolutely amazing weekend. I had a couple things going on. I did want to mention this too. I promised you all I was doing a couple things with my vehicle for local visibility here, and I want to get your insights on it. I had to pause it for just a little bit. Let me share with you why really quickly. I had to pause it for just a few for a little bit, only because I did not like some communication that I received from the vendor I was working with. And if you think that I'm here on YouTube and I'm a different way than I am in real life, it's not true. I'm the same way that I communicate with you all and I share with you all. I'm the same way in real life too. And if there's something that happens to me, specifically as a business owner, and I'm not being treated like a business owner, or I'm being communicated in a way that I believe is not appropriate or not favorable in terms of building a business relationship, I will cut ties quickly, very quickly. That's what happens when you have an executive presence. You have, and you're at that level of your leadership journey, you have to be very decisive. And sometimes you cannot play around and waste your time. And so that's the only reason why I haven't shared it with you all yet, because I had an issue with the vendor. And so I'm in the process of doing a bit more vetting and looking into a couple of other vendors that may do even better. So as soon as I get that graphic ready for you all, in terms of when I have it finalized, I'll make sure I send it to you. So I appreciate your patience in advance with that. I plan on doing that this weekend actually, because I'm in the process. I'm in the home run final stages. But as I mentioned to you all leaders, communication is important, and it is so important. How you communicate to other people says a lot about you. How people communicate to you says a lot about them. And you have to be very observant when you see that someone is giving you a hard time, or they may be not treating you or communicating with you in the way that you need to be communicated with as an individual, as a leader, that may not necessarily be as respectful to you as you need to be. This is the reason why you have to stand up for yourself at all times. When people communicate with you in an unfavorable way, you have to sometimes take that information in. Sometimes we want to react emotionally, but we just can't react emotionally just yet. You have to be able to collect information and deal with it and manage it in your own way when the timing is right. And sometimes that means just waiting for a few moments. That doesn't mean you have to say something immediately, depends on what it is. Sometimes you have to just say something like right now, but then sometimes it's best for you just to do a bit of strategy before you address the issue. So I know that was a bit different in terms of what we're talking about. However, I did want to let you all know that I'm still working on it. I promise I'll send it out to you as soon as I get something finalized. But I have to practice. I practice executive presence with everybody that I work with, especially as a business owner. But I look forward to seeing you all next week. Let me know if you have any questions. I appreciate your support as always. Feel free to like this video or share it with anybody that may have some questions as it relates to leadership and communication. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.